It was 4:13 a.m. when my phone rang. Sheriff Mark said just 2 words. She's gone. Leah Parker, my childhood best friend, found dead under Hollow Creek Bridge. No wounds, no witnesses. Just one thing left behind in the mud. My name, written with her dying hand. Now the whole town thinks she was calling for me. But I know she was naming her killer. I had just drifted into that fragile space between sleep and consciousness when the phone rang. Not the cheerful buzz of a morning reminder, not even the muted ding of a notification. No, this was my landline, the one nobody used unless it was an emergency. I stared at the ceiling for half a second, heart pounding before my mind caught up. A phone call at 4:13 a.m. meant only 2 things in the small town of Willow Creek. Someone was dead, or someone was about to be. My hand trembled as I reached over and picked it up. Ella? I knew that voice instantly. Sheriff Mark Dwyer. I'd gone to school with him. He'd been a year ahead of me. Star quarterback, local hero. Now the town's law. His voice was low. Too low. Mark, I whispered, sitting upright. What happened? A long silence. I could almost hear him struggling to stitch the words together. It's Leah. My breath caught. Leah Parker? I asked, even though I already knew. There was only one Leah that could make my stomach twist like that. My best friend from childhood. My partner in crime when all our crimes were sneaking into old barns and daring each other to knock on haunted doors. We grew apart over the years. Different lives, different worlds. But some names never lose their place in your heart. Mark didn't answer immediately, and that silence was louder than anything he could have said. She's gone, Ella. I closed my eyes. The words didn't land. They floated in the air, refusing to translate into meaning. Gone, I repeated dumbly. What do you mean, gone? There was a shaky exhale on the other end. We found her body an hour ago, out near Hollow Creek Bridge. For a moment, I forgot how breathing worked. Hollow Creek Bridge. The place where we used to toss pebbles as kids and make ridiculous wishes. The place where Leah once swore she saw a ghostly figure by the water. The place we swore we'd never go at night. Ella, Mark said, softer now. I thought you should hear it from someone who cared. The words barely reached me. I felt like I was underwater. The room seemed darker than before. Colder. How? I managed. We don't know yet, he said carefully. But there was something else in his voice. Something uneven. Something not being said. Mark, my tone was sharp now. Tell me the truth. Another long pause, then quietly. It wasn't an accident. I pressed my hand over my mouth. No. Not Leah. Not like this. Do her parents know? I asked, though I could barely push the words out. They're on their way. Listen, I shouldn't even be calling, but what? Another silence. Then, the way she was found, it was strange. A chill crept down my spine. What do you mean, strange? I'll explain when you get here, he said. If you're up for it, come to the scene. I hesitated only for a breath. I'm coming. I didn't even bother changing out of my sleep clothes. Just pulled a coat over my flannel pajamas, grabbed my keys, and stepped into the frigid night. The air outside tasted like metal, the kind of cold that bit through bone. Fog clung low to the streets, turning Willow Creek into a pale ghost of itself. The town was still. Too still. As I drove, distant memories of Leah spilled into my mind like flickering home videos. Her laugh echoing through the cornfields, her daring me to climb rooftops, her whispering secrets we promised to take to our graves. But I never imagined hers would come first. Headlights cut through the fog as I reached Hollow Creek Bridge. Police cars were scattered along the gravel path, their red and blue lights casting distorted reflections over the water. I stepped out of the car. The moment my foot touched the damp ground, an inexplicable sensation washed over me. Like I was being watched. Not by the officers. By the dark, or something in it. I didn't recognize my own footsteps as I made my way down the dirt path toward the flashing lights. Every movement felt distant, like I was watching myself from outside my body. The fog clung low and heavy, swallowing everything more than 20 feet away. The bridge itself was barely visible, just a dark outline against darker water. Sheriff Mark Dwyer stepped away from a group of deputies as soon as he saw me. His face was tight, drawn. He gave me a curt nod before walking closer. "Thanks for coming," he said quietly. I didn't answer. My gaze drifted past him, past the yellow tape, to the sliver of muddy shoreline illuminated by lantern light. I could see a sheet, white, damp around the edges, covering a body. I swallowed hard. "That's her?" I asked, even though I already knew. Mark hesitated, as if hoping I wouldn't say it. "Yeah." Something twisted brutally in my chest. "Who found her?" Something twisted brutally in my chest. "Who found her?" "A couple of fishermen," he replied. "They were checking their nets early, saw something on the bank and called it in." I nodded, unable to speak. We stood in silence for a moment, the kind of silence that wasn't empty but buzzing with things unspoken. Finally, I drew in a shaky breath. "You said it was strange. What did you mean?" He looked at me, really looked, as if measuring whether to say it. Then he stepped aside. "Come with me." We walked slowly toward the taped-off area. A young deputy lifted the barrier tape for me, eyes wide with discomfort. Not at me, but at the fact I was here. This wasn't a place for civilians, but I wasn't just a civilian tonight. I was someone who had loved the woman lying lifeless beneath that sheet. Mark stopped a few feet from her body. He didn't lift the sheet, yet. Instead, he pointed to the ground beside her. "Do you see it?" It took me a second to notice. At first, it looked like random scratches in the mud. Then my breath caught. They weren't random. They were letters. Shaky, uneven letters carved into the wet dirt with trembling fingers. E-L-L-A. My name. I stared. Frozen. "She wrote this," I whispered. "We think so," Mark said quietly. "The mud was wet when we found her. The lettering is fresh. No signs of dragging. She wasn't moved. She was alive when she was here. Alive, bleeding, dying, and writing my name in the mud as her final act." A cold wave of guilt crashed through me. Why me? Why call for me? "She was trying to tell us something," Mark murmured. "We don't know if she meant you as a message or a warning." My hands curled into fists. "Show me," I said. He hesitated. "Ella, show me her face." He looked at me, saw the finality in my eyes, and nodded slowly. He stepped forward, knelt beside the sheet, and lifted it back just enough. I bit back a cry. Even in death, Leah's features were recognizable, but barely. Her skin was pale, lips blue, hair matted with water and dirt. But what struck me most wasn't her face. It was her eyes, wide open, staring straight ahead, as if she had died still looking at something, or someone. My voice trembled. "What killed her?" "No visible wounds," he said quietly. "No gunshot, no knife, no bruising or strangulation marks. There's no clear cause of death yet." I stared at him. "No injuries?" "None that we can see." "How is that possible?" He exhaled. "That's not the only odd part." I looked at him sharply. "What else?" He glanced around, making sure no one was close enough to hear. Then, in a low voice, "There were footprints, fresh, human, leading right up to her body, but none leading away." A chill ran up my spine. Someone had been with her, standing over her, watching her. But how had they disappeared? Mark stood up slowly, swallowing hard. "I know how this looks," he said. "And I know what people in this town will start whispering." I stared blankly. "What?" He held my gaze. "She wrote your name. And there are no other names, no other clues, just you. The words hit me like a punch. You don't think, no, he cut in firmly. I don't think you had anything to do with this. He paused. But not everyone will be so reasonable. Suddenly I felt it again. That sensation from earlier. Not grief, not fear. Being watched. I turned slowly, scanning the fog. No one was there, not visibly. But I knew. Someone had been here. Maybe still was. Watching us. Watching me. My pulse began to race. Leah had written my name as she died. Someone wanted me here. Not to mourn, but to play. I backed away from the shoreline slowly, a cold pit forming in my stomach. The flashing lights of the patrol cars no longer felt reassuring. They felt like bait. Like light meant to distract while something else moved in the dark. Mark noticed my unease. Ella, he said carefully, I'm going to assign a deputy to escort you home. No, I cut in, still watching the fog beyond the trees. Someone's out there. He glanced around. We've already swept the perimeter. They're not gone, I whispered. I can feel it. He didn't argue, which told me he felt it too. Then crack. A twig snapped beyond the tree line. Both our heads snapped toward the sound. One of the deputies shone a flashlight toward the thick brush. The beam disappeared into the mist but showed nothing. Probably just a raccoon, the deputy muttered. No, this wasn't an animal. This was intent. Mark raised a hand. Stay here. Before I could protest, he motioned to two deputies and headed toward the sound. Guns raised, lights cutting through the fog. I stood frozen, halfway between wanting to follow and wanting to run. The fog swallowed them within seconds. Their lights flickered behind the trees. Then, silence. Not even footsteps. Just void. Minutes dragged by like hours. I wrapped my coat tighter around me, shivering despite the still air. The ground beneath my slippers was damp, soaking through. I didn't care. I just watched. Waited. For something to move. Finally, one of the deputies returned. But not Mark. I stepped toward him. Where's Sheriff Dwyer? The deputy's expression was unreadable. He's still checking the creek bank. Told me to get you warmed up. Warm? I felt anything but. I'll wait for him, I said. The deputy looked like he wanted to object, but something in my voice stopped him. Fine. We stood quietly near the bridge, the flashing lights turning the fog into shifting ghosts. Minutes passed. Too many. Then I heard it. Not footsteps. Something softer. Breathing. Slow. Measured. But not mine. Not the deputy's. Coming from behind me. I spun around. Nothing but fog. Did you hear that? I whispered. The deputy stiffened. Hear what? I scanned the darkness. Someone was right there. I couldn't see them. But I could feel them, like a weight on the back of my neck. Watching. Waiting. Something flickered in the corner of my vision, near the base of an old oak tree. Something pale. Long. Like a hand. But then it was gone. Ella. I flinched. It was Mark, emerging from the fog, wiping sweat and condensation from his forehead. Nothing, he said to the deputy. No tracks past the mud line. Whoever was out there is gone. He wasn't gone, I muttered. Mark looked at me. I didn't blink. He was right there, watching. Mark didn't dismiss me. He didn't even question it. He just nodded. Then his eyes shifted, past me, toward the creek. Ella, he said quietly, I need you to go home. Lock your doors. Stay inside until we get some answers. I'm not leaving Leah, I said sharply. She's gone, he replied, voice firm. But you're not. His meaning was clear. You might be next. A wave of defiance rose in me, but it clashed with something stronger. Instinct. Survive. I swallowed hard. Fine, I'll go, Mark signaled to the deputy. Drive her home. Don't leave until she's inside." I followed silently, glancing back one last time at the creek, at Leah's body, at the mud, at my name carved into the ground like a death warrant, ELLA. The deputy walked me to his cruiser. I paused at the passenger door and looked back one last time. The fog shifted, just a little, and I swear, I saw him, not clearly, just a silhouette, tall, still, facing me, far beyond the tape, half hidden in mist, not running, not attacking, just waiting. I got into the car. Because for now, all I could do was leave. But I knew, as the cruiser pulled away, as the bridge disappeared into fog, this wasn't over. Someone had pulled me into this. And they weren't done. Not until I understood why Leah died calling for me. Not until I followed where she was leading. Even if it meant walking straight into the dark after her. The deputy dropped me at my house and waited until I locked the door. But I didn't stay inside like Mark wanted. I couldn't. Not after seeing that figure in the fog. Not after Leah carved my name in the mud as her final breath. She wasn't warning me to be afraid. She was calling me to finish something. So instead of hiding, I grabbed a flashlight and my old hiking boots and slipped out the back door. And I walked, straight back toward Hollow Creek Bridge. The fog was thicker now. The world felt muted, like I was walking through cotton. I kept my eyes forward, following the dirt path. Halfway there, I heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, not behind me. Ahead. I tightened my grip on the flashlight. "Who's there?" I called, voice steady despite the racing in my chest. No answer, but I could sense him, waiting at the bridge. I reached the edge of the creek, and he stepped out of the fog, tall, broad shoulders, wearing dark clothes, face shadowed, not a stranger. I knew him. "Mark," I breathed. What are you doing here?" Sheriff Mark Dwyer stared at me, eyes unreadable. "I knew you'd come back," he said quietly. My throat tightened. "Leah wrote my name. She wanted me to see something, to know something, didn't she?" He didn't answer. But his silence was the answer. It hit me like lightning. "She didn't die before you arrived," I whispered. "She was alive when you found her." His jaw tensed. "She wrote my name because she wasn't calling for me. She was naming you." Mark didn't move, didn't deny it. I took a step back. "You killed her." His eyes lowered. "She wouldn't stop," he murmured. "She found out things she shouldn't have. About me, about what I've done." My stomach turned cold. "What things?" He exhaled slowly. "Leah found proof I'd been taking money from evidence seizures, years worth. She wanted to expose me. So you silenced her. It was supposed to be clean," he said quietly. "Quick." But she fought back. His voice cracked, only slightly. "And as she died, she wrote my name," I finished. "So I would come. So you would take the blame," he said softly. "Small town. Everyone knows you cared for her. Everyone already saw you at the scene. That's all they'll need to believe it." I felt like I was standing on cracking ice. "But why are you telling me this?" He drew his gun. "Because you're not walking away." For a moment I froze. Then adrenaline hit. I turned and ran, not away from him, toward the creek. I dove behind the rocks, water soaking my clothes. His footsteps thundered behind me. "Ella," he shouted, "don't make this harder." I grabbed a broken branch from the shoreline, thick and jagged, and held my breath. Shoes crunched on gravel. Closer. Closer. Now. I swung upward with everything I had. The branch connected with his wrist. The gun clattered into the mud. He stumbled with a growl. I lunged for the weapon. He tackled me before I could reach it, slamming me into the ground. My lungs emptied with the impact. He pinned me down. Strength over force. "I didn't want it to be you," he hissed. "Leah trusted you," I gasped. "She died calling your name." That stopped him, just for a second. His hands loosened, and that was enough. I drove my knee up into his ribs hard. He choked and rolled off me just enough for me to scramble toward the gun. I grabbed it, spun, bang. Silence. Mark froze, eyes wide, staring down at the spreading red on his shirt. He fell to his knees, stared at me, not with anger, with something like acceptance. "You were always the quiet one," he whispered, voice fading. "I never should have underestimated you." He collapsed, motionless. I stood there trembling, gun still raised, chest heaving. Not in triumph, not in relief, but in finality. Behind me, the fog shifted, just slightly, as if someone unseen was watching. Not with threat, with gratitude. I turned toward the creek. Water rippled softly. "Goodbye, Leah," I whispered. A breeze stirred, soft, warm, like a hand across my shoulder. Then stillness. When the sirens arrived minutes later, I didn't resist. I dropped the gun, sat on the cold ground, waited. Because I knew two things for certain. Justice had been served, and Leah's last message had not been in vain. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.